Okay, so here we are. This is, what is it, July 23rd, 2023. We did this, record this video. In this video, we're planning on doing all three of the hives. We'll do them in the order of the Italian hive, then the Russian hive, and then finally the swarm hive. The reason that I'm doing a narration of this is that the new camera that we purchased to use to try and make this a better process, we're still learning how to use it, and basically we had recorded this at slow motion. So I'm in the editing program, speeding it up so you don't have to watch a lot of slow motion with regard to the hives. So that what that does, unfortunately, is it also did not make the microphone work at all, so there is no audio to this video. So anyhow, what we want to do is we want to go into the Italian hive for starters here. And all right, so here we are taking the lid off of the Italian hive. Today's workers are myself, Carol has the smoker, and right now Eric is doing the videotaping. Later on, Eric will take over the job of going through the frames. Carol remains the smoker girl today. And I'm sorry if the video seems to not be natural. I tried to find a speed that approximated real life when I sped this up from the slow motion. So anyhow, what you're going to see here is that the honey super that's on the Italian hive doesn't have anything going on. We did have a lot of activity in the front of the beehives today. I think this was Eric trying to show you there, but nothing, absolutely nothing on the frames in this top honey super. So now I'm trying to take the honey super off. It has been glued down by the bees. There, I got it freed up. Carol's going to smoke it a little bit. So this is the upper brood deep box. Alright, so you saw nothing extraordinary on that first frame. Second frame, yep, we have the vertical stuff that these bees seem to like to do. And of course it starts to drip because when we pull it out, it actually tears the top off of the column that they're making. Okay, what are we, third frame in now? A lot more stuff here. It really appears to be a lot of honey. That's capped honey. And that's the other side of that column that they're making where it got ripped open when we moved the other frame. Once again, strangeness on this frame. Are working in the middle of the frame, and on the back we have some more of those columns that they're very fond of making. I'm wearing my gloves because I just don't trust these bees right now. Okay, so nothing at all on this. Fifth frame in. And this is in the upper brood box. Some bees on the bottom of here. And I'm making the determination that there's not a lot going on in the rest of the frames, so I'm not going to bother pulling them out. So we'll just put this box back together. The little dancing thing you see there is the cap from the new camera. Eric is tucking it in so it doesn't distract you. One more frame to go. Free up the box, it's glued down. It'll really work the tool in there to break it free. Pop it up, give me a little squirt of smoke in here, Carol. Thank you. Alright, let's lift this box out of the way. There's a little bit of weight to the box because it does have some honey in it. Alright, this is the bottom brood box, which basically, if you remember back to the beginning of the season, most of the frames in this box came from the nuke that I had purchased. Asking Carol to smoke the top so that I can work a little bit cleaner on here. Okay, first frame, nothing. Second frame. What do we have? We have a little bit of honey being built on this side. Once again, not the perfect strategic roll of those. They're not spread across the frame like I'd like to see. Let's put this one down. Let's go for the next frame. Okay, there's some brood. Capped brood. Okay, honey across the top and an arch. Middle section there is all capped brood. This side appears to be mostly capped honey on this side. I think what I was trying to do was trying to get you to get a look into the empty cells because we did see some larvae in there in addition to the capped brood. So the only way I know I have a queen is by looking and seeing that I have brooding activity. Now this one here was the corners were honey, and it's like the entire frame itself was on both sides capped brood. Also looks like the center section of both of those the brood has hatched out. So we have a hive that's definitely alive. Same thing here, where we have a frame that there was a very big, intense amount of capped brood, but most of them have hatched. There's still some around the edges that have not. And you get the bees hanging onto the bottom of the frame. Now these are, once again, all of the frames that originally came with the nuke, at least the center of this is. I know this black plastic one certainly did, because I didn't buy any full plastic frames, and that came in the nuke. Okay, Eric, where's the... Here we go. Alright, I think we're looking at some more brood. So the bottom... see the bees falling off. So once again, we're seeing capped brood in various stages. Need some more smoke. Tan is once again capped brood. A lot of bees on the outside of the box now. Squirt them again, Carol. Alright, I'm evidently done. I don't want to be in this hive any longer. So we're seeing honey that's being warehoused. This is Eric showing that the bees are crawling all over me. We have honey that's being stored. We have brooding activities to create the population that we need for this this hive to continue on. Not any appreciable honey activity outside of the two brood boxes. Just finishing up this, putting this box back together. Alright, now we're going to need to get the bees off the top of the box here so that I can put the other box back on top. Come on, bees. Watch out, coming through. You don't want to be squished. Put it on here at an angle. Hopefully we get a couple of points. And spin them out of the way, hopefully. Okay. That's the second box back in place. Still have that honey super to put on top of that. Notice I'm not putting any of the queen excluders in. Alright, so the three boxes are back together. Inner cover. Outer cover. Alright, so that's the end of the Italian hive, hive number 1. And what's going to happen is we're going to move on to the Russian hive. Okay, here we are at the Russian hive. The Russian hive is the center hive in the 3 hives. It also has the 2 large brood boxes, and I put 2 honey supers on because the Russians were doing so good that I just really assumed we were going to end up with a lot of honey from these particular bees. But then about 3 or so weeks ago, they decided to swarm. So there were a lot fewer bees in there. I was showing the top of the lid there because the last time that I was in 2 weeks ago, some ants were infesting this hive. So we had some carpenter ants that were living in the lid. I cleaned them out last week and they haven't come back, so the lid was clean. Alright, I'm looking to see if there's any activity in this particular box. Here, we'll pull a frame out to show you. There's really no activity in here whatsoever. We'll just pull a few to make sure that I'm not missing something. Nope, empty. Alright, let's get this box. Oop, not even glued down. That means they're not really up in that box at all. So the lower honey super, nothing. Take a few random ones out, nothing. One more, how about one more? And nothing. No activity whatsoever. So this is the lower of the 2 honey supers, and they're not going up into the honey supers at all. Yeah, we're not even seeing any good amount of bees on here, a couple stragglers. Bees are still playing around on the side of the hive, the Italian hive that we just left behind. Alright, let's get this honey super off. They at least glued this one down, so they've been in here. Here, have some smoke. Go on down, go into the hive. Give it a few seconds, go in. Okay, good job. Nothing. Now we're in a top brood deep box. Some bees on here. No activity, no building. Of course, these guys don't seem to like the edges of the boxes, so. Alright, some activity on the 3rd one. A lot of bees. A little bit of activity, just a tiny bit. Let's put it back in. Let's see what's going on the 4th hive, or frame. From here I can see there's some activity. Alright, so on this frame we have some honey, and some empty. It's mostly there's honey and then empty cells. It's a good pattern from the top, that archway at the top, it looks nice. And there's me looking to see if I can find a queen. Yeah. Because of the color of that wax, I want to say at one point there was brood in there. is the 5th frame. Once again, honey in the arch at the top. A lot of empty cells there. I don't remember if we found larvae in these particular frames, but we do find that this hive is still alive. It is still producing brood and producing baby bees. There's a little bit of patterning, that you can see they've been in and out. I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you that there is some larvae in there. This camera is not good at doing close-ups, so a lot of bees on the frame. I don't know if you can hear the thunder going on behind me. I'm actually recording this narration on July 28th, so basically about 5 days after this video was shot. Once again, we see a lot of honeycomb was built, so the bees have all the infrastructure they need in these frames. I'm not seeing a lot of brood in these particular frames. They were working on making some honey on that arch at the top. It's me trying to look over my glasses so I can see. Not sure what that white color is. Is that pollen? Okay, keep going. We got a few more frames. They seem to like to be on this end of the box. You saw those first 3 frames were empty. Now everything's got activity on this end of the box. All right, so that looks like brood to me at the top there. The back side looks like it's pretty empty. I'm looking for some larvae. I think I did find some larvae in these. A couple more frames. Oh, last frame, sorry. And the back side, really not much. A little bit of honeycomb. This side packed with honey. At this point, I think I thought I had spun that around. Carol trying to make sure the smoker stays lit. Okay, we will go into the bottom box. You have to finish putting this one back together. Okay, there was some discussion amongst the crew of maybe putting one of the empty frames over into the sides where they're working hard. Sometimes that irritates the bees, sometimes it doesn't. So we're going to take one of the empties and put it in there as frame number 2 from that side of the hive. As you remember, the last frame had honey built, a significant amount of honey on one side and nothing on the outside wall. Putting that one out of order too, but I don't think it matters because the first 3 frames were empty. Okay, though, this is going to be a little bit heavier of a box. It's not like it's completely full of honey or anything, but we did have some bees, we did have some brood, we did have some larvae, we did have some honey. Alright, let's break this apart so we can take a look at the lower brood box. Okay, give me some smoke in there, dear. Thank you. Give it a second. Yeah, let's take it off. Spin it. There you go. Let's put it on top of the other box. Okay, we have some bees here. Smoke them down, Carol. Smoke them down. See what's in there. Alright, we've got some bees. I don't think there was a lot of foundation built there, or beeswax, if you will. Honeycomb. Okay, we have some honeycomb built here. From here, I don't remember what it was. Did have that yellowish tint as opposed to the white, so I'd say probably brooding activity was going on there. I think what we're seeing here is that there's not capped brood here, but basically it shows that the bees did use this box for brooding prior to the swarming, when a big chunk of them left. What I want to see is I want to see some new capped brood in here. Okay, once again, dirty honeycomb, showing that there was brooding activity going on there. Not a whole lot going on. And a little bit of capped brood at the top of that one. Bees are coming out of the other box to take a look, see what's going on. Okay, don't know what was on that frame. I have a feeling I'm going to find that these frames are pretty empty. Okay, one side looks like it had brood at one point. This side has brood. Okay, so it's been 3 weeks since the swarm, so pretty sure that that needs to be brood that was from after the swarming. Okay, back of that one, there's nothing going on. Front of that one, we've got old brood activity. A little bit of honey, perhaps. And I think we're going to find that the rest of the frames, the next 3 frames, are going to be empty. And I think that's what I'm trying to say. I'm also saying that my back hurts. bees on the frame, no honeycomb. Okay, giving up. Put everything back together. We have another hive. So, the way that this Russian hive was so darn healthy for the first couple months of the summer, um, it's amazing what a couple of weeks will do to the outlook of a hive. 3 weeks ago, this was a bustling hive that was absolutely jammed to the rafters. I thought I had given them the room to move up. I had put the the queen excluder in there. I wonder if that has something to do with it. Ultimately, the hive decided to split and swarm. So what's left behind is now struggling to get back to where it was. So there's a lot of honeycomb that's already there. So if they have the new bees that they need, then they can just start working at new brood and new honey. Okay, we got 2 more honey supers to go yet. Now, I didn't mention this is a day that is about 85, 86 degrees. Although the hives at this point in the day are not in direct sunlight, there's not a lot of wind in there, and it was pretty warm. What I'm seeing is that with the heavy blue jeans on to protect me from the bees, and my bee suit is actually a very thick material, so the bees can't really get to me through any of the material. But it doesn't breathe real well, and I'm pretty hot. So at this point, I'm saying that I want to take a little bit of a break, and here we are back. Eric decided that since I was pretty hot and tired from the first 2 hives, that he would do the handling in the 3rd hive. I had offered the job to Carol. She said she was perfectly happy with the smoker. So now you have Eric doing the framework. All right, this is the swarm hive. We captured this swarm. You've seen the video for this. If you're a loyal viewer, you know that you saw Nick and Eric, mostly Nick climbing the tree to get the swarm out of the tree. That's this hive. So where we are now is we have 1 honey super on it and the 2 brood chambers. Hey, nothing. Carol's getting rambunctious with the smoke, I think. I think she's worried because Eric's not wearing gloves. All right, so we have something going on down in here. So the bees, now we believe these are the bees that swarmed out of the Italian hive. And they're making, now this is the honey super, they made a pretty wide, thick patty, if you will, of capped honey there and there. It's a pretty thick capped patty, if you will. I wish it'd go to the ends of the frame. They haven't. Now, I told Eric that Let's take one of those vertical columns off of here, see what we can do with it. I brought a bowl out just to see what we could possibly steal from the bees. Since we're up in the honey super at this point, let's take one of those columns. We may have taken two of the columns because they got damaged when we opened up the hive. We pulled them apart, so the capping was taken off when it pulled away from the other frame. So we took those columns. Now, what I'll tell you is that as we go forward in time, I took that bowl of the capped honey, well, that column, and I crushed. I had to fight the bees for it. There were a lot of bees that came along with that. Once again, a very wide patty of capped honey, which is great. It's up in the honey super. So. But I took the column that we took. Eric's showing you the way that it's dripping because when we took it out, it tore off the capping from the because it was touching the one on the other frame. I crushed the rest of the wax after I got the bees out of it, and I put it over a cup and put it over a coffee filter. Now the coffee filter was too fine for the honey to drip through. Now we're seeing that basically a little bit of honey growth on that one side of the frame, nothing on the other. I don't think we're going to find any more the rest of this box. But I crushed it up, drained it over a cup, and eventually I had to poke a couple of holes in the coffee filter. And I want to say I got maybe 2 or 3 ounces of honey after I had filtered it and taken the wax out of it. Just sort of basically let it drain out of the wax. So I tasted it. It's a really very interesting flavor. It's a very light color. My wife thinks it's just nectar because it was capped. It has to be honey. By definition, the bees will cap it when it's at the right moisture level and it becomes honey. Taking a little bit more off. That's a little bit too much burr comb. Put it in here. Okay, put it in the bowl. Go back. I did taste it. It has sort of a citrus flavor. We are not down in the citrus states. There's no orange groves nearby. This is northwestern Pennsylvania. That's what we took off. A lot of bees in there that I need to separate from the honey. I've been stung twice this year. Last week when I went in, I had one of the Russians sting me on my right hand. And right after this, when I was fighting the bees for that honey in that bowl, I went and picked up the bee brush to brush them away, and I didn't look, and there was a bee on the handle of the bee brush, and he did not take kindly to me grabbing him. So that was my second sting of the season. Okay, first frame. Now these boxes came from Tractor Supply, so they're the white plastic foundation. So don't get excited if you see the light color, thinking that's all honey. It's not. It's the white foundation. This is the upper brood box. Nothing on those first 3 frames, but it looks like we have something going on here on the 4th frame. Okay, so we do have, get a little closer. Come on, picture it. I think that's honey, or it could just been the foundation, but I think that was actually capped honey. Let's see if we get a better picture this time. There's a lot of bees. See what it looks like. I think that's a lot of capped honey. So the Italians in the Italian hive, and these being, I believe, the swarm from the Italian hive, these guys don't have any problem making honey. These girls. Okay, the color's changed. That's all brood. So the swarm hive is indeed creating brood. A lot of honey, a lot of empty honeycomb. Some honey across the top and capped brood. So this is a activity that we want to encourage. Eric's looking for larvae. We do find larvae. So when you have larvae, you know you have a queen within a few different days. You know, the egg is the easiest way to know you have a laying queen that day. But you know, he's trying to show so that we can see the larva. But this camera is not good at close-ups. By the way, for those of you that don't know, Eric and Carol are married. They're newlyweds. They got married last summer. Another frame showing brooding activity. More brood. So where are we? In the bottom brood box. So this hive seems to be doing the right thing, using the bottom box for brood. Oh no, we're in the second box, aren't we? More brood. More honey. Wish I could remember what my conversation was. I had left the camera on the tripod. I wanted to come take a look at that to see if I could see see if I could see a larva. All right, last frame in this box. And we have honey, brood, and nothing on the back. And just for the heck of it, we decided to put this one back in backwards. See if we can force them to make honey on the other side. Okay, we have to put this back together. Eric's pushing all the things back where they belong. And then we'll look in that bottom box. Put the first frame back in. Which I think is actually pretty empty. And Eric decides he wants to put this sort of in the middle to see what they'll do with it. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. Okay, we have one more box to look at. Since this was the bonus hive this year, it's a little lower down. I never built a stand for it, it's just on a couple of concrete blocks with a lot of wood pieces in there to try and level it off. That part of the yard is not level by any means. Alright, lifting it up, bees underneath. Kind of run out of smoke there. I think the question was whether we wanted to scrape off that burr comb on the top here. One of the other things that occurred was that there was some brood going on in some of this burr comb, and when we tore the box off the top, we actually have some exposed larvae from inside the capped brood. So that tan color you see on the tops of these frames, that's capped brood sitting on top of frames. Okay, well, there's a lot of bees going on the bottom here. Okay, we have honey here, it appears. Okay, let's pull that out, see what's in there. I think Eric's being a little bit more careful because we're going to have very little smoke. Alright, so that frame has honey in the corners. A lot of bees on the tops of the boxes. See if I can see down in there at all. Once again, I want to just make it clear that the camera work is not as easy as it appears. All right, Eric, it appears, has decided that he's seen all he wants to see in there. So we do have activity in the bottom box. We have some brood activity. We have some honey activity in that bottom box. So the two brood chambers, the two brood boxes, the deep boxes here, have brooding and honey activity in them, which is great. And then we saw that we had some honey activity in the top box, which was the honey super. Eric putting the second brood box back in place. And Carol's doing her best to smoke with what smoke's left in that smoker. Let's get that last box back on there so we can close this up. There we go. That appears to be the end.